Hello everyone, welcome to the study online. Myself, my name is Sagar, and we are continuing with our Java sessions. Today happens to be the day three of the Java class. So today happens to be the day three of Java demo class. So previously two classes we have uploaded to the YouTube, and the classes are going live exactly at 4 p.m. now. And these are the sessions we are giving for free, the demo classes. So in the yesterday's class, which happens to be the day two, so we have discussed about a few topics such as what do you mean by a machine level language, and what is the duty of the assembler, and what is the duty of the compiler, why assembler is required, why compiler is required, all those things. After that, I have explained the origin of the programming languages. So I would like to tell it as programming languages. These are the things we have discussed in the last class. Maybe in this today's class, a few more topics we are going to discuss which is required for the programming. So let us continue with our session. Today we will understand what is exactly the process of compilation and what do you mean by interpretation, all those things. Let me consider a programming language here. So any programming language, if I consider, so people are not going to write it in the assembly level language, rather than now they'll be writing in the high level language. So whenever you are writing in the high level programming language, so you're going to take this high level programming language, and by taking it, you're going to give for one software which happens to be the system software. So what is the system software we are going to call it as? Yes, we are going to call the system software as the compiler. So what is the duty of the compiler? Compiler duty is to take the high level language as the input and converting into the corresponding machine level language, or in other words, it is going to convert into the corresponding low level language. So what is that low level language? That low level language itself, we are going to call it as the machine level language. So it is going to take this so-called as high level language, and it will be converting into the machine level language. So once it is converted to the machine level language, as you people know from the yesterday class itself, the machine level language directly you can give it as input to the boss of the computer. So I'll be calling it as the microprocessor. So I'm going to consider this happens to be the microprocessor. Maybe in the microprocessor I would like to tell it as MP, and I'm going to call this happens to be if I give the zeros and ones as the input for my microprocessor, quickly is going to understand what is my requirement and is going to give the output for me. Let me call this happens to be my output. Now observe carefully, whatever the high level language is there. Say suppose you are writing 10 lines of codes or 20 lines of codes, or maybe 100 lines of codes or 1000 lines of codes, when you give it to the compiler will take all the high level language in one shot, and it will be converting into the machine level language. It is not going to check line by line, rather than from the line 1 till the line n, it is going to consider the complete high level language, and in one shot it is going to convert into the machine level language. This process itself we are going to call it as compilation. But if this process has to happen, so all these things is happening inside our computer. So I'm going to call this is the computer. So if this is our computer, so I would be taking the very important system software of any computer, that happens to be the operating system. Let me consider this happens to be the operating system, and I would like to tell it as operating, this is the operating system. Okay, sir, operating system, why you are taking here? Operating system is acts as a platform. So from now onwards, if someone asks you, what do you mean by a platform? I would write to like it here. I would tell it as this is the platform. So what do you mean by platform? If someone asks you from now onwards, your answer should be platform equals hardware plus software is what we are going to call it as the platform. Hardware, it is nothing but our microprocessor. Software is nothing but the operating system. The combination of this hardware and software only we are going to call it as a platform. And one more thing that you should be understanding here, whenever you are going to write the so-called as high level language, so this is what people are going to call it as the source code. So this is the source code. So the source code is available for us. So the high level programming itself, we are going to call it as the source code, and people will also call it with one more name, and I would like to tell it as this is nothing but the program file. So this is the program file which is available for us. I would like to tell it as a program file. So once if you give to the compiler in one shot, it will take all the high level language and it is going to convert into the corresponding machine level language. Whenever it is converted into machine level language, this machine level language is what we are going to call it as the object file. Why it is called as object file? Because it is consisting of machine level language. Machine level language means from the yesterday class itself we have understood that it is nothing but the binary language, or in other words it will be having only zeros and ones. Machine level language is also called as the a native code. Many a time people will be calling it as native code. Let me add that as well. I would like to tell this happens to be the native code. So if whatever the program that you are writing, if it is a source code, the corresponding machine level language is what we are going to call it as native code. And I'm going to give a complete name for this process, and this process name is only we are going to call it as compilation. Again I would repeat, so if someone asks you, what do you mean by compilation? Your answer should be, it is the process of converting the high level language into the corresponding machine level language or to any low level language in one shot. That is what we are going to call it as the process of compilation. Now let us quickly take up one more scenario. So again, I would like to take a programming language here. So that programming language, the programs are written using the high level language. Let me consider this happens to be the high level language. So once you have a high level language, so we must give it to the compiler for the compilation. But this time, instead of giving to the compiler, I'm going to give it to one more system software which is generally available for us. I'm going to take this as one more system software, and I would like to call it as interpreter. Sir, what is this interpreter? Wait for 2 minutes, you'll be getting the complete clarity. And once if I give this interpreter is going to convert so whatever the high level language is there into the corresponding low level language, or in other words I can consider this happens to be the machine level language. I'm going to consider this happens to be the machine level language. So once I'm going to convert this into the machine level language, what will happen? I'm going to give it to the microprocessor, and microprocessor, what it is going to do, it is going to give me the required output or the expecting output, whatever I'm expecting. I will tell it as this is my microprocessor, and let me tell I'm getting the corresponding output now. Let me take it as this happens to be the output for me. Yeah, fine. So this is the output. Now observe carefully. Again, let me put it everything inside a computer before explaining what is actually the interpretation is all about. Let me put it inside a computer, and for this the platform is very very important, and let me consider that platform as well. The platform is nothing but already it happens to be the hardware and software combination. In that the very important thing happens to be the software. So that software is only our operating system. So operating system is present here. That let us give some names for this. This is what we are going to call it as program file. So once you have a program file, so we are going to call this happens to be our program file, and in the same way, so we are going to call this happens to be the source code. So this is our source code, and let me place it in a correct manner. Okay, so after which, now let us see what is the duty of this interpreter. Whenever you are going to give the high level language to the compiler, what is the duty of the compiler? In one shot it will convert the high level language into the corresponding machine level language. But what is the duty of the interpreter? It will also take the high level language and it is going to convert into the machine level language, but not in one shot. rather than line by line, it is going to convert. First line it is going to take and it is going to convert into the machine level language. Second line it will take and it is going to convert to the machine level language. Like that, it will be keep on taking line by line. And once the entire lines of codes is completed, so interpreter is going to complete the conversion process. So in the this is what I'm going to represent in this format. So interpreter, after converting first line, again it will go back, to the respective source code. I would like to tell like this. So again it will go back to the respective source code. So let me take a little bit lengthy here. So I would like to tell it as it will go back to the respective source code. After going to the respective source code, what will happen? So it is going to take the next line which is actually present in the source code. It will take the next line which is present. So this process will be keep on doing. So if you someone asks you what do you mean by the process of interpretation, you can tell it is the conversion of high level to the low level language, but interpreter is going to convert it line by line, that is what you should be telling. So let us give some name for this as well. So I would like to tell it as, again, this happens to be the object file. Not only the object file, I am going to tell this happens to be the native code to bring the similarity between the above diagram and this one. I would tell it as this happens to be the native code. So native code is also present here. So the complete diagram, whatever you are seeing, I would like to select it. And after selecting it, let me take it to the above, and let me give the name for this one. So this is what we are going to call it as the process of interpretation. So what do you mean by interpretation? Interpretation is nothing but converting the high level language to the low level language by a system software called as interpreter, that too line by line. This is what you should be remembering is all about. From this diagram, what I'm expecting you to remember is, what do you mean by a platform? It is a combination of hardware, especially the microprocessor, and software, that is operating system. And what is the process of compilation? Compilation is nothing but taking the high level language and converting into the low level language in one shot by the compiler is only called as compilation. And what do you mean by interpretation? So interpreter is a system software which will take the high level language line by line, and it is going to convert into the low level language. That is what we are going to call it as interpretation. Now let us quickly get back to the notes now. So I'll go to the notes part. So you can see now, this happens to be the day 3, the demo classes. So compilation and interpretation is what we are discussing all about. So what is a platform? The combination of hardware, that is microprocessor, and software operating system is called as platform. Maybe going ahead, we will neglect the microprocessor with respect to the platform. For us, for the programmers, the platform means this happens to be only the operating system. In my upcoming classes you will understand. Then what do you mean by this compilation? Compilation, it is a process of converting the high level language to the low level language. I need not to specify it as machine level language, into the low level language by the compiler in one shot. This is what you should be understanding. In one shot is called as compilation. Then what do you mean by this interpretation? The process of converting same high level language to the low level language by the interpreter, but it is going to convert not in one shot, it is going to convert in line by line. This is what we are going to call it as interpretation. I think I am completely clear with this. Let us move on to the next topic. Let me go back to my screen. So once we get back to the screen, let us go to the new page now. So let me continue. So whatever the programs that you are going to write, somewhere you have to store in your computer. So you are going to store in the memory device. Maybe the 3 important memory device already I have discussed in my day 1. So microprocessor is what I am going to consider for my discussion. And along with that, I require the memory devices, such happens to be the RAM and the hard disk, all those things. And if you want to save something, permanently, so you're going to consider this hard disk. So hard disk is what I'm going to represent in this format. So once the hard disk is represented, let me connect a few lines here. So let me consider this happens to be the hard disk, and I'm going to write like this. So let me consider this line as well. So this is the hard disk. Quickly I'm going to give the name for this, and I'm going to tell it as this happens to me the hard disk drive. So I'm going to reduce the font size. Okay, so here my program is present. I've written one program using the high level language. I'm going to consider assume that this happens to be the program which I had written, and I've written using what high level language. I've written this using the high level language. So once the program is present in the hard disk, now in order to execute, I have to bring this high level language program to the microprocessor. So I'm going to consider the microprocessor here. So I'm going to consider this happens to be the microprocessor. So I would like to consider the microprocessor here, and microprocessor is the fellow one who's going to give the output for us. So let me consider this fellow at the end is going to give the output for us. So I'm going to write the output here. So if you want the output, what are all the circuits we have to do, that is what I'm going to showcase now. So with respect to the memory, so this is the output is what we are going to get at the end. Initially what happened, the programs which is present in the hard disk, they have taken it from the hard disk, and directly they have connected to the microprocessor through some physical wires. That physical wires itself, we are going to call it as the bus connection. Technically we'll call it as the bus connection. Let me call this happens to be the bus connection. Now observe carefully. So bus connection is there. Okay, you have to bring this high level language program to the microprocessor for the execution. Assume that compilation or interpretation, either of the one has been done, and it has been converted into the machine level language, and it has to bring to the microprocessor. But the problem here is directly you cannot connect these two fellows. Why? Because the technology mismatch will happen, so that you cannot able to get the speed of execution. Sir, what you are trying to tell, sir? I am not able to understand. Now observe carefully. In the beginning class itself, I have told this particular microprocessor has been created using the semiconductor technology. So I would like to tell it as this happens to be the semiconductor tech. So any device which made up of semiconductor technology is speed enough in its nature to process the things. And if you ask me, sir, what is the hard disk is made up of? Hard disk is made up of the magnetic technology. So this is the magnetic technology. When there is a mismatch in the technology, this fellow hard disk, it is having some disadvantages. What is the disadvantages? If you ask me, I would tell it as this fellow is relatively slow in the process. So whatever the task you're going to give to him, so it's very slow in nature. And not only that, this fellow happens to be very bulky in nature. So if you open the computer and if you look at it, maybe you can see that it is somewhere around the size of a geometry box will be there. This is slow and bulky. This fellow is super fast, but this fellow is slow. By the time, the program, the first line is, assume that we are going to do interpretation. The first line is going to reach to the microprocessor, quickly is going to process, and is waiting for the next line. But the next line is slowly coming because technology mismatch. Then what the computer scientists decided, they decided, oh, these two things we should not connect, and they have removed this one, and they have removed this bus connection as well. So after that, using the same semiconductor technology itself, they introduced a one more memory device. So what is this one more memory device? That is only we are going to call it as RAM. So this RAM is one more memory which is available in all the computer. Let me consider in this manner. Let me take it in a blue color for the identification. Okay, fine. So this is what our RAM. But why I'm explaining all these things, because today we'll be understanding why the RAM is called as primary memory and why the hard disk is called as secondary memory. Any which ways, we are going to take connect this two fellows. So one happens to be our RAM, and second one happens to be our microprocessor. When these two fellows are connected, so they were very happy. Why they are very happy? Technology matches. Here also it is nothing but the semiconductor technology. So here also it is semiconductor technology. Technology matches, both are happy. So quickly is going to give the data for the microprocessor, and microprocessor immediately is going to process it, and you are going to get the output. So what they have done, so they have taken one program file here. So let me assume this time this happens to be the machine level language itself, which has been already compiled or interpreted. So this happens to be the machine level language which is present. So directly I have to give to the microprocessor. But there are few disadvantages with respect to this RAM. So what are the disadvantages if you ask me? The disadvantage with respect to this happens to be this particular RAM is volatile in nature. Sir, what do you mean by volatile, sir? Volatile is nothing but as long as if you keep on giving the power supply to this RAM, so this RAM will be running or it will be executing or data will be present on the RAM. In case for a fraction of second if power goes off, all the data that is present on the RAM immediately it will be erased. That nature only we are going to call it as volatile nature. Why it is volatile in nature? Because it is made up of semiconductor technology. Anything that is made up of semiconductor technology required a continuous power supply. That is what I can tell. And this happens to be very volatile and this is very costly. Anything you want to create using the semiconductor technology, usually it will be costly. So these are the disadvantages. Then they decided, oh, no, 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 no. Complete program, if you want to execute, in between, suddenly if power goes off, then it is a problem for us. So somewhere they have to store it permanently, right? Now you will execute, if you are off the computer, again, if you open your computer, the data will be not present on the RAM. Because once you switched off your computer, again, if you on, the data will be erased. So what they did, even though this is slow and bulky, hard disk was having an advantage. What is that advantage? If you ask me, the whatever you are seeing, the hard disk, that is non-volatile in nature. What do you mean by this non-volatile in nature? So even though the power supply is not given to the hard disk, maybe for 1 week, 10 days, 30 days. So whatever the data you have stored in the hard disk, it would remain as it is, and it is relatively cheap compared to the RAM. The cost is relatively cheap. If you want to cross verify, you can go and check what is the price for 1 TB hard disk and 4 GB RAM. 1 TB is almost, the 1024 GB of memory is equal to almost a 4 GB of RAM price. So you can just match, because the technology has been changed here, the magnetic technology, and for the RAM this happens to be the semiconductor technology. Then they decided, okay, even though there are some limitations like it is slow and it is bulky, the hard disk is also having some importance. This formula is applicable for the real life also, guys. You cannot see only the negative things in a person. Any person you take, the positive points also will be there, negative points also will be there. But what we should focus, we should neglect his negative qualities and we should only focus on his positive quality. That is what this computer scientists also have done. What they did, okay, this is having some very good features as well. So let us going to connect these two people. That is what they have decided. Let us connect these two people. So once this is connected, this particular is having whatever the disadvantage. In the same way, RAM is having some advantage. That also I'll be writing it here. What is the advantage it is having? It is very fast in nature because it is made up of semiconductor technology, and when you compare to the size, it is very compact. You can see by opening your laptop today or any desktop, if you are having open the CPU and check it. uh, the hard disk is somewhere around geometry box size, and whatever the RAM, it will be like a 15 centimeter scale. To that extent the RAM is very compact. So this is also having some advantage and disadvantage, and let me take this happens to be the advantage: fast and compact at the same time, the volatile nature, and it is very costly. This is what we are going to call it as disadvantage. But why this is called as primary memory and secondary memory, now you'll be understanding. Now listen carefully. Let me go to the RAM, and I'm going to call these as the primary memory. Sir, you tell me the reason why you are rating the RAM as the primary memory. Tell me, the boss of the computer always happens to be in the hardware components. I'm telling it is nothing but the microprocessor. Who is the first person who is speaking with the microprocessor? Is the hard disk or the RAM? This is the RAM who is going to speak with the microprocessor. He is the first fellow who is going to face the microprocessor. That's why this is primary memory. After that comes the secondary memory. It is like your schooling, guys. First you are going to get the primary school. After that you are going to get the secondary. So in the same way here I am going to give some names. So here the secondary memory happens to be the hard disk. I would call it as this is the secondary memory. So I hope I am completely clear with this, why the RAM is called as the primary memory, why it is called as secondary memory, how this has been connected, why this has been connected, why in all the computer, the two memory devices will be there. One happens to be the primary memory, one happens to be the secondary memory. And not only this, guys, one more interesting fact about this happens to be you should be knowing some certain set of definitions. What is the definition? Now observe carefully. Whenever you have any data on the hard disk, if you want to execute it, you should bring it on the RAM. That is what we have understood from the diagram. Anything, if it is a movie, if it's a song, whatever it may be, if it is a program, if you want to execute everything, you are supposed to bring it to the RAM. So if you take a data and if you are trying to place it on the RAM, that process only we are going to call it as a loading. After doing some certain set of tasks, if you want to take the same thing and if you want to store it back to the hard disk, that is what people are going to call it as saving. These things already we have done many a times. Maybe you will be not knowing that. Today I'll give some examples. You will understand in a better way. Assume that you have any movie or a song in your hard disk. You're going to double click on that. When you do the double click, a blue color circle, it will be rotating. So that is what it is taking some time to take the data from the hard disk and to place it on the RAM. That is what we are calling it as loading. So it is loading to the RAM. In the same way, whenever you are typing something in the notepad, it will ask you to save. Save means if you close the notepad, the data whatever you have typed, it will be erased. In order to store it permanently, so we are going to bring to the hard disk by telling it as save. Save as, you are going to tell a specific folder or specific file name. So that is the reason save as is required. Maybe in your college days, if you remember, in the engineering days, in the computer labs, your teachers were telling this one. When you're typing the program, tell it as control s, control s. Why control s? Control s means you please save the program, like that. Why you have to save the program? If you don't save the program, if a fraction of second, if the power goes off, whatever the programs you have typed, immediately it will be erased. Why it will be erased? Whenever you are typing the program, you'll be typing on the RAM. Once if you tell it as control s, if you save it, then only it will go and sit in the respective hard disk. I hope I am completely clear with this. This process I'm going to give one name. What is the name you are going to ask me? I would tell it as organization organization of memory. So this is what I'm going to tell. Let me change the font color and let me make it as bold. So this is what the organization of memory. So from this, what I want you people to understand is, so why the microprocessor and the memory devices are very important for the programmers, how a program has been typed in the computer and where it will be stored. So again, how it will be loaded to the RAM and how you are going to get the output. That is what you should be understanding. Quickly, let us go to the notes part. I'll go to the notes, and maybe in the notes part, am having the ready-made notes for the day today. So I would consider this one the next topic. Let me go above. So organization of memory is what present now. So I would like to take this organization of memory. So let us continue with this. So in this, what is the meaning of loading? So loading, the process of taking the data from the hard disk and placing it on the RAM, it is only called as the loading. So in the same way, what do you mean by saving? The process of taking the data from the RAM and placing it on the hard disk is called as saving. And the node point is supposed to give uh, the data which is present on the hard disk is what we are going to call it as file. This node point is what you should be remembering, because if I get back to the diagram and if I want to explain, so let me get back to the diagram part. So here also data will be there, here also data will be there, and on the microprocessor also certain set of data will be there. I would like to consider that in a simplest way here. So let me take this and let me call this as a data, but we are going to tell it in a specific name. So what we are going to tell happens to be, this is nothing but the file. So any data which is present on the hard disk is what we are going to call it as the file. In the same way, the data which is present on the RAM is what we are going to call it as the byte. Now observe carefully. So we will call it as byte. Let me call this as the byte. Okay. So in the microprocessor also, you are having certain set of data, the data which is available on this microprocessor. So let me make a unique diagram for this. Okay, so let me consider this, and let me call this particular thing as the register. So I'm going to call this happens to be the register. I would call this happens to be the register. So it's like a general information, guys, that you should be knowing. So what you are going to call for the data present on the hard disk is called as file. The data present on the RAM is called as byte, and the data present on the microprocessor is what we are going to call it as register. Anyways, quickly we'll come back to the diagram. Now observe the organization of memory. I want everybody to take the screenshot of this image, because I know in the demo classes it will be very difficult for you people to take the notes. But once the demo classes are completed, I already have discussed about this. You have to keep a separate book and you have to write the notes every day. But today, quickly take down the screenshot. Is that done? Okay, fine. Again, take the screenshot of this as well. The organization of memory. Is that completed? Okay, fine. Quickly take down the notes part as well. So take down the screenshot of this from the compilation till the organization of memory, the complete page, whatever you are seeing on the screen, do take the screenshot. Okay. Now let us move on to the next topic. So let me go to the next one. When you compiled any high level programming language, you are going to get the native code or you are going to get the machine level language code. That is what we have discussed in the previous to previous diagram during the compilation process. But my question is directly, can you give the machine level language to the microprocessor? That is what my question now. So whatever you are going to see, the so-called as the machine level language, you cannot give it to the microprocessor, because it is we are going to call it as an incomplete file. Object file is what we are going to call it as incomplete file. Sir, what do you mean by that? Maybe in a couple of minutes you'll understand. Now observe carefully. Again, I'm going to take the hard disk for my explanation. So this is for the hard disk we are considering. Guys, when it was offline classes, we were writing the diagram on the whiteboard, which was relatively easy. But here, to bring it in a standard way, it will be little bit difficult. Maybe as the days progress, we'll get hands-on on this as well. So this is the hard disk. So let me consider this happens to be the complete hard disk. So this time why you are say taking the hard disk this much bada sir? Wait and listen carefully now. So this time I'm going to consider one program here in my hard disk, which is already been saved. This is present in the high level language, and for this some text is what required. I am going to tell it as, say suppose this is a C programming language, I would tell it as add.c. And a few people were asking the question here, sir, is that necessary that we should be knowing the C programming language to learn the Java? There is no such prerequisite here. Just I'm giving the correlations, that's all. So this is the C programming language. Add.c. .c is the extension we are going to give. You tell me this is my source code, or I can call it as a program file. This program file, I'm going to take it now, and I will give it for the compilation process. So when I take up this, and I'll go with the compilation part, and this is my system software. I would tell it as compiler. When you give it to the compiler, what the compiler is immediately is going to do, the compiler is going to take the complete high level language as input. After taking the high level language as input, what he will be doing, so is going to consider the complete high level language, and they will be converting into the corresponding machine level language. That is what I can tell. Now observe. So I'm going to consider, assume that this happens to be the machine level language which we got. So this is the machine level language, and quickly I'm going to give the name for this. This is add.obj. What is this obj? Obj stands for the object file, because this is a machine level language. This machine level language object file directly can I give to the microprocessor? Certainly it is not possible, because this object file as of now it is a incomplete file. Sir, what do you mean by this incomplete file? Then what is actually a complete file? Now listen carefully. Whenever you are going to write the C program, so many header files you are going to add, so many extra fittings you are going to do it here. What is those extra fittings I am going to tell now? Maybe I would like to consider only two things here. So many header files will be there. Let me take the first one happens to be, what is the first line in the C programming language? Everyone will tell hash include stdio.h, that standard input output dot header file that you include to the program. That is what I'm telling. So this is the predefined libraries which are available. These predefined libraries we are going to include to the program, because you are not going to write the body for the printf. You will tell it as printf in the program, you will tell it as scanf in the program. So many things you will use while programming, but for all those things you will not write the body. Already the developers who created this programming language, they have written the body for that, and it is already present in the language. Directly if you tell it as printf, you can use whatever you want to print, you can write the statement inside that. But are you writing the body for the printf? Are you writing the body for the clear screen? No, right? So such only we are going to call it as header files, or the predefined libraries which are available. Maybe one more, if I want to take the immediate brother of this, so I would tell it as conevo.h. So many a times, this conevo.h is not required, but still people as biated in such a way that they will had like cache include stdio.h, conevo.h, math.h, all those things they are going to tell. But in this case I'm going to consider the two things. This is also you're supposed to add it to the object file. That is what my intention. So I am going to consider this happens to be the stdio.h, the library files. I'm taking it here. Let me consider from here. Okay, I'm going to take it, and along with this the object file is also I'm going to consider now. So after considering the object file, maybe I am also giving the same thing to one more software here. So what is that one more software, why it is required, all those things you'll be understanding now. Observe carefully. So let me take it from here as well, and after taking it from here, so let me take it, yes, here. And once it is done, so let me take to the next. And after doing this, observe now. So I'll be considering this as well, and I'm going to take a separate software for this. Sir, what is this software? You only tell me. If I take any software, what it should do exactly? It should take this library files, and it should take the object file, and it has to connect both. The connecting both is what I'm going to call it as linking. So who's going to do this task? This is nothing but the linker software. Linker software is going to link the object file along with the library files. After linking, what it will do, it is going to take the object file as input and library files as the input, and it is going to give back the output in the form of executable file. I'm going to call this happens to be the executable file. Let me consider here, and after considering this, let me bring back to my hard disk, and I'm going to save it, tell it like this. So one more file has been generated now. So this is what we are going to call it as object file, but this time, oh sorry, this is what we are going to call it as executable file. So here also it will be present in the machine level language only, there is no doubt about it, but the extension will be something like this. So you can execute this file now. So that's why this is add.exe, the executable file. Once you get the executable file, directly you cannot give it to the RAM. You have to load it. For the loading purpose, we have a separate software. So I would like to consider the separate software here, and I am going to tell it as this happens to be the loader software. For the loader software, you are going to give the input, which is nothing but the this machine level language. Once if you give the machine level language the executable file, you are going to give it as the input for the loader software. What this loader software is going to do, loader software is going to take, or it is going to load the executable file to the primary memory that happens to be RAM, because already you know that if you want to execute, then you must be requiring the primary memory, that is RAM. So I'm going to consider this one now. I would like to consider the RAM now. So I would write to represent like this. So after representing it, so let me quickly give the name for it, and I would write to like it as RAM. So this is the primary memory which is available for me. And once the RAM is there, so inside the RAM I should load my executable file now. So if I want to load the executable file, the loader will take the responsibility and is going to load like this. So whatever you are going to load it on the RAM, so we are going to call with one name. So we will call it as, this is nothing but our executable image. I would like to tell this happens to be the executable image. I would like to tell this happens to be the executable image. That means a copy of the executable file is what you are going to get it on the RAM. So when you have this executable file, what will happen. So immediately from the RAM, it will give it to the microprocessor, because both are same technology. Already you know that the semiconductor technology. So let me consider this happens to be the RAM, and let me tell it as the microprocessor is there here, and microprocessor is very much happy because you are giving the complete file now for the execution. There is no scolding from microprocessor. Let me tell it as this is my output. Maybe I'll bring it here. Observe now. So let me take this happens to be the output. Okay. Now observe carefully. Again, I want to reiterate the things. Whenever you are going to write any program, you're going to save it in the hard disk. Maybe if I say take the C programming language with the .c extension, I'm going to save. You are going to give it for the compiler. What is the duty of the compiler? To take the high level language in one shot, it is going to convert into the corresponding machine level language. The machine level language is what we are going to generally call it as an object file. Again, object file it is, because file the data present on the RAM. So once you have this object file, directly you cannot give for the execution, because so many predefined libraries already have used in the program. All those things you have to tell to the microprocessor, see, this is what I have used. Otherwise you will confused, what do you mean by printf, what do you mean by scanf? All those things microprocessor will be not knowing. So you're going to take the help of linker software. Linker is also a system software which will take the object file as input and along with the library files as input, and it will gives you the executable file. Now the executable file, I can call it as a complete file, because whatever the logic that you have written and whatever the predefined library that you have used, everything has been linked now. And one more system software is there, that is called as loader. What is the duty of the loader now? It is going to take the executable file and it is going to place it on the RAM. Whenever this is present on the RAM, we are going to call it as executable image. And if this executable image, if you give it to the microprocessor, and immediately microprocessor is going to process it, and you're going to get the required output. I want you people to quickly take the screenshot of this image. Once you have taken the screenshot, do respond me. Okay. So now one more changes I want to do it here. People have decided why to use the linker software separately, loader software separately, So rather than that, what they have did, so they have taken this name as the linking loader. I like to make it as a linking loader, and they have removed this one. So this particular piece of loader software they have removed. So after which they are going to convert this into the executable file, and from the executable file directly they are going to load it on the RAM. So let me change in the diagram here itself. So I'm going to change this one. Observe now carefully. So let me consider it in this way. So I'm going to take it like this, and after taking this one, let me again connect these two things. Okay, let me cancel this one. Whatever you're observing now, this is only nothing but they have combined this linker and loader. They made it as a linking loader. So what is the duty of the linking loader? So it is going to provide you the executable file, and not only that, it is only going to load into the RAM. So linking and loading both, now it is done by a single system software that we are going to call it as the linking loader. I hope I'm completely clear with this. So let me give the heading for this. So what is the heading for this? If you ask me, the heading for this happens to be what is actually the object file and what is actually so called as the executable file. This is object file and a executable file. Observe now. So this happens to be the heading. So after these changes, I request you people to quickly take down the screenshot of this as well. Once if you have taken the screenshot, do respond me. Fine. Now let us continue with our discussion. Let me go back to the screen now, and let us see exactly what is this executable file and object file is all about. And let me go to this. You can see now. So I'll come to this part. So what do you mean by this object file? So object file is a incomplete file, consists of only the machine level language, and executable file is a complete file which consists of machine level language and corresponding library file. So what is the linker duty in this? Linker is the system software. If you want to understand what do you mean by system software, I have spoken about what is a system software and application software in my day one video. You can go and watch there. And what do you mean by this loader means? You can see the loader is also a system software. I've written in the short form. Don't get confused. This is system and software which loads the executable file to the RAM. Then what is this linking loader? Linking loader happens to be the hybrid system software which will perform both the linking and loading activity. I hope I'm completely clear with this. Again, I request you people to take the screenshot of this, the notes part, and try to update your notes. But once the demo classes are completed from the next week, you have to write the notes in the class itself, because this set of videos is not available in the YouTube from the coming Monday. Once the demo classes are completed, it will be only the online classes which we are going to take, and we are going to give the videos if the students required. Say suppose they are having some working shift at exactly at 4 p.m, or maybe if they are busy with some office work, if any genuine reason is there, then we are going to share the video with them, if they are already joined the batch. Only for our paid batch students, they'll be getting this recordings. In the YouTube, you will not get the videos after the demo classes. So I think I have taken the screenshot. Let me quickly go back to my screen again. Okay. So after this, the very important questions that is running at the back of our mind happens to be, sir, in the yesterday's class, you have explained the origin of programming language. In that, many things was there. So what do you mean by a structured programming language? What do you mean by a object-oriented programming language? And what do you mean by this platform dependency? What do you mean by platform independent? And what exactly the Java programming language is all about, and what could be the features of Java. When you are going to start with the public static void main, the hello world program, many of them are thinking that, but I want you people to get a complete clarity on the basic structure first. Maybe in my upcoming class, in the next class, I'm going to explain what is exactly the platform dependent and platform independent. I'll be explaining all the features of Java that is available, and I will explain whether the Java programming language is a compiled programming language or interpreted programming language, or it is using both. So all those things, the technical things, we are going to discuss in the upcoming classes. Already I have told about this in my previous video also. September 7th, 2020, we have started a batch in the study online, both Java as well as Python. If you are interested in Java, you can join for Java. If you are interested in Python, you can go for Python as well. Both are the trending programming languages in the market. And if you learn these programming language, there is no doubt about that you'll be getting a very good job in the IT industry. Moreover, in this pandemic, getting equipped with knowledge or upskilling ourselves is very very important. And it's very difficult to provide the offline classes at this point of time. Maybe till this year end, maybe till December, this is the scenario will be going on. That's why we came up with this new concept called as study online, where you can study online with us. So whatever the queries that you are having, you can ask with the study online. The number has been given, and if you are really interested with the way of teaching, and if you want to join the course, you can register yourself and you can attend the Python class every day morning 8 p.m. It is going to start, and 5 days of demo classes will be there. And today happens to be the day 3 of the Python as well as the Java demo. It's going on day 4, day 5 also. We are going to provide you the YouTube videos. 5 days demo classes is what we have decided. Initially we thought that it should be 3 days, and later we have, due to some students request, we have made it as 5 days. So 5 days of free demos you can access in the YouTube, or you can attend the classes. And from the coming Monday, Saturday and Sunday we are not going to take the classes, and from the coming Monday, it will be a paid batch. If you're registered and if you're paid the fees, you can attend the classes. Because guys, you know that when we start with the course, it is very difficult for to give for the free of cost. That's why we are keeping the minimal fees when you can compare with the other coaching institutes which is present in entire India. So in the online platform, and you can access the knowledge from your place itself, from whatever, maybe from the remote areas also. You can learn the things if you're interested. You need not to go to any metropolitan city in order to learn the things. That is not required, because internet is there, and if the electronic gadgets are there with us, the laptop or mobile, easily we can access the knowledge. And that's why we have kept our tagline also as the knowledge is the power. If you have the right knowledge, so the life will change. That is what I can tell in this situation. So anyways, I hope you people will attend the upcoming classes. You'll watch the upcoming videos as well. Thank you so much. Maybe in the next class, certainly I would explain what type of language is Java, and what is exactly the structured and unstructured programming language, and what do you mean by platform dependent, platform independent. All those things I'll be speaking in the upcoming classes. For more details, you can contact the Study Online. So if you have any special queries, I would like to answer. If not, I would like to end the session. Any queries from my online batch students? No? Okay, thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day, and do learn the things. Maybe a day without learning a new concept is the day wasted. That is what I every day I'll feel. So learn the new things, whatever may be the source, but keep learning. Thank you so much, and bye.